Me, my brothers Matthew and Kyle went to go see this movie on Thursday at 3:30 in IMAX. First screening we could get, as I knew this would be worth it, and it was, since Across the Spider-Verse is easily the best movie of the year so far. Nothing else I've seen comes close. No other movie looks like this, feels like this, or is like this. Across the Spider-Verse brings so much new and does so much right. It's amazing to me that it's so close to perfection, something so many movies struggle to beat. And obviously no movie is perfect to all. Some are perfect to others. You know, like, you're gonna have your movies that you think are perfect, and others will be like, yeah, I have a problem with this. But when I heard people say this was like the best animated movie of all time, the best superhero movie of all time, like, I saw actual ads say this, the best sequel of all time, or whatever, the list goes on, my expectations were through the roof. Before I go into this movie, I should say what I think of the first movie. Well, Into the Spider-Verse, still, in my opinion, is one of the best movies of 2018. One of the best of the last decade. One of the greatest superhero movies, animated, whatever category you want to put it in. It's just one of those great movies that they will study to understand how it was made. How we can, you know, understand how this is art, this is cinema. I don't know. I mean, it feels weird to phrase a movie like that, like, but I mean, you know, it's good. So, to me, it was because the people behind it wanted to do something new, tell something bold, do it like no other that has come before, and with this movie, it truly feels like this was made because they had a story to tell. A story that, regardless of everyone or everything else, with care and heart put into every frame, they will make the best movie they can, and it will be the best movie it can be. One of my favorite creative teams in modern Hollywood, Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, return, with them both writing the screenplay this time, with Lord just doing the... No, did he write the screenplay for the original, or was it just a story? Whatever. They both returned to be the writers for this movie, along with newcomer, well, not newcomer, he's worked on other things, David Callaham. But this time we have a new trio of directors who have had works on other things I won't list because the list goes too long and I don't know what to pull out specifically. We have Joaquim Dos Santos, Kemp Powers, and Justin K. Thompson. And then, you know, of course, the 1,000 people working on this film. That's not something an anime film has ever had before. I mean, a large crew and cast or whatever. The point is, they bring us Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. The story is that a year after Miles Morales, still voiced by Shameik Moore, became the new Spider-Man, he's been able to improve and truly become the hero his city needs, even if, like all people who wear a mask, he struggles to handle both his lives as Spider-Man and as Miles Morales, as his parents, voiced by Brian Tyree Henry and Luna Lauren Velez, become worried about him more and more. Miles finds levity when Gwen Stacy, a.k.a. Spider-Woman, voiced by Hailee Steinfeld, suddenly returns, and Miles learns of something far greater going beyond the world he knows, and must challenge what it's going to take to be Spider-Man, to be a hero among different worlds, or even other Spider people, as the wrath of an enemy of his world known as the Spot, voiced by Jason Schwartzman, threatens to destroy it all. That's all I can really say without spoilers, but if there is something I think after seeing this only once, I can say that no one else will, I think this is something I can truly say that is my own. I think when you watch it the first time, you'll watch it from Miles Morales' perspective, and the second time from Gwen Stacy's perspective. The story here is so good. It's so great. It really does feel like a story that isn't the first one again. It's the right next step where this world and characters should go. I mean, with the first movie, being about Spider-Man from other worlds coming together in the world where Spider-Man died and not ready yet, Miles Morales has to learn what it takes to be Spider-Man to save the day. The progression with now Miles Morales capable of being Spider-Man is challenged when he has to go to other worlds and sees what other Spider-Man or woman is like. The first movie to me was about challenging your environment, and this movie is about challenging your destiny, since it's about Miles having to prove himself in ways not like the first movie that I can't really say again without spoilers, but man, I wish I could. I mean, I can, but I choose not to. I will say how this movie starts did make me worried that it'd be the best part of the movie, and it all be downhill from here. It opens with Gwen Stacy in her world as we get more information about herself, and by the time the title card shows up, a choice is made that regardless if people thought it'd go one way or another, it gave me chills about how this would set the precedence of the movie going forward. How each scene plays into one another, and nothing ever felt like it was pointless. How it really did make you go, huh, is this gonna go... I have no idea how this is going to go. Also, honestly, it had so much material with Gwen Stacy at the beginning. I thought she could have had her own movie. Like, sure, some things might be there just for the crowd to applaud to nostalgia, more on that later, but when I saw how scenes play out, it made me have to question if the choices made would lead to better or worse things to come. And when you find out any consequences that follow, it will change how you view it the first time, probably. There are twists and turns that I either thought would happen a certain way or I couldn't see coming at all. And when you find out about how either way you look at it, you don't know what's right from wrong, that's when you know you care about this world. I know I care about this world. I know these characters are something I want to know what happens next to them. These fictional things. This movie is going to challenge its audience and knows it's going to be able to handle it. I mean, there was cursing in this movie, such as crap, damn, and ass, like a PG movie in the 80s would be. Like, it knows its audience was, well, and the best movie these days that's PG might have one curse word in it, and that curse word would be just crap. But I think it knows that its audience is someone who saw this first movie 5 years ago, so they're a bit older by then. And even for newcomers, it's like, they're able to handle it. But if there was any other praise for the story without spoilers, it's the villain, the Spot. When I first saw him in the trailers, I thought he was like the joke villain, so they wouldn't reveal the real villain in the trailer. But when you saw, or well, when you see how he's treated at first, and see from his perspective his story, you feel his wrath. You feel his anger about how Destiny challenges everyone, including him, thanks to the voice acting and the art direction. I mean, I'll go back to the art. I'll go into the praises about the art and animation in a bit, but to really just say off script about what I think of the Spot, it's something that reminds me of like, well, maybe like when the Suicide Squad, the James Gunn one, as opposed to the bad one. You know, it's like you have characters that were often treated as jokes, but it's like they're written in a way where it's like, I actually care about them now, even if they were always just jokes otherwise. It's something where, in the right hands, any character can be fascinating if, you know, give them to someone who's talented or cares. But hey, back to the animation praise. I mean, the animation is out of this world, such as when it started with the use of colors and lighting. It was just so different than the first. I didn't know if they were allowed to be this experimental throughout, but it's clear how it helps make each world feel unique. It feels like each world is its own. It has, well, I mean, okay, I love movies like Everything Everywhere All at Once, where it truly felt like, well, the title, we were everywhere, everything all at once, yeah. But this movie in the first shows why animation can do things we can't do in live action. Not to say this, you know, makes Everything Everywhere All at Once feel lesser. No, both movies do a great job at being its own thing. And makes other movies about the multiverse, you know, still feel lesser because of that. Not saying which. But speaking of, and wondering if anyone else will have this problem, without spoiling who, a cameo occurs of a live action person, and by that, a real person. And I like how it's used where if I didn't know who this person was, the joke works on its own. But I'm sure people who don't care when the audience screams or cheers for cameos and fan service care anymore, since, you know, hey, you know, a decade ago, stuff like this would have been unprecedented. And now, because it is, we expect it, people are, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Pessimistic about these kinds of things. I mean, unlike the first, this movie does make references that aren't like nods, but direct tie-ins to other things. But I still believe it works on its own, regardless of any other knowledge to other things Spider-Man related, which I am glad I saw this movie first chance I got, since like, and after I saw this movie, someone spoiled this specific cameo online, so good for me, I guess. Now, if this movie does have one thing that keeps it from being perfect, it's that it's a two-parter. I know some going into this are gonna know it's a two-parter, and others don't, because I did go into this knowing it was a two-parter, and by the end, there's something that happens that if you didn't pay attention, it changes something that you might notice on a rewatch. But for me, I did notice it the first time, and despite the running time, I was never bored or felt like the movie was slow-paced. It did feel like it dragged out how the ending was going to be a cliffhanger. I'm like, okay, is it going to end here? Is it going to end here? Is it going to end here? Like, I know for many people who didn't go into this knowing it's a cliffhanger, it's like, well, a cliffhanger ending, you know. I mean, there are plenty of sequels where, you know, it's like, it is still like, a second movie still stands on its own, or it's just the predecessor for a third movie to end the trilogy. It's just, regardless of all other comparisons I can make, when it has this thing where it's like, it's waiting for reveals, I can kind of figure out before other people might have, and by that, I figured out before, you know, my brothers did, because they were the only people I asked instead of the strangers at my theater. But not to say I hated it. No, I think it's a good jumping off point for the next movie. But I do wonder if this movie could have been one movie. Even if it was, like, longer because of that. I have more faith than ever the sequel will triumph. I love the characters, the worlds, the art in every frame. An unforgettable movie. I think the first is truly something that is better just because, well, I don't know if I say it came first. It really does feel like a complete movie. Something, everything that works about. And it's like, until the second movie comes out, I don't know if this will work the same way. Because, you know, it's relying on being a two-parter. It feels weird these days about movies that are two-parters because, you know, I mean, I don't know, I guess just because I grow up with it. Like, if I saw Back to the Future Part 2 when it came out, would I have been mad at, oh, it's a cliffhanger ending? I don't know, because I love both Back to the Future 2 and 3. Even if, you know, you have to see 2 to see 3, or, well, do you? The point I'm getting to is, it's crazy these days. We don't know how to judge something on its own when we have to wait to see, does it work as a two-parter and its own thing? Many people, it didn't. But for me, I think I need to wait a little longer to see if this is something I will describe as perfect. But, you know, this is a near-perfect film. And that makes it easily my favorite movie of the year so far. Like, so many movies would love to be something like this. Congratulations to all, and I can't wait till Beyond the Spider-Verse next year. I give Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse a 9.5 out of 10.